Hi all, this is Naomi with omiindustriies, and today I'm happy to introduce to you the first piece of omiindustriies software, the Big Dumb Kick, a Max for Live object. The Big Dumb Kick, or BDK for short, is a source of hard kick drums and basses, taking inspiration from gabber and hardcore. These styles use repetitive kick drum patterns with fast tempo with a lot of grit and distortion. One early method of generating these kicks was to run a TR-909 drum machine into a console mixer that had individual inputs and outputs that allowed users to patch from one channel into another and repeating this to get a chain of channels. Cranking the volume on each channel and sculpting the sound with the EQs allowed producers to emphasize and subtract harmonics from each step in the chain. The result is a speaker-shaking, chest-rumbling, ear-piercing kick drum that makes you want to dance like a fool. So first, click the Open-Close button. If you close out of the window with the Close X, you'll need to click the button a second time to open it back up. In this view, you also get access to the Randomize button and Pitch Randomization toggle. This is a great way to start to vary the sound of the kick drum and explore the BDK's possible sounds, so I recommend setting up a sequence and hitting this a few times to check out the different results. The Big Dumb Kick is broken up into individual sections, with the signal path going from left to right, top to bottom. We start here with the 909 style kick drum, made up of a sine wave oscillator, a pink noise source, and a series of VCAs in envelope. I'll take down the sound shaping parameters so we can just hear the dry kick. The three envelopes are routed into the pitch input of the sine wave VCA, and a pink noise VCA. They share a common decay control, but each envelope has a separate shape and overall maximum decay time. The pink noise is used to add a percussive click at the beginning of the sine wave, and is not as long as the others. The pitch envelope slider controls how much the envelope alters the pitch of the kick drum. At 0, there's no pitch modulation, which can be useful for more melodic sequencing. The Big Dumb Kick is not really made for melodies, but you can use it how you see fit. It's inspired by a specific kick drum sound and is best suited for that. It's monophonic, meaning it only accepts one note at a time. So, now you have your nice kick drum. Now it's time to make it sound gnarly. First up, clipping an overdrive. The kick first runs into the overdrive, a soft clipper that sounds like a tube overdrive in a pedal or guitar amp. Soft clipping gently folds over a signal that passes above a certain boundary, reflecting the harmonics back into the waveform. Then it runs into the hard clipper. Hard clipping chops off signals that go above levels set by the min and max clip controls. This leads to a harsher, more distorted sound than the overdrive on its own. Next, the kick passes into a comb filter. A comb filter adds a second copy of the signal, delayed by a very short amount. The name comes from plotting the frequency response of the comb filter, which creates a series of sharp spikes spaced at harmonically related multiples of the bass frequency. You can control the delay times from 0.01 milliseconds to 20 milliseconds, gain that goes up to 4 times, and the amount of feedback in the delay line. The feedback goes up to 99%, which creates a long ringing tail, particularly at higher delay times. The wave wrapper works a bit like the clipping and overdrive sections, but instead of cutting off the waveform when it goes above a certain bounds, it reflects and wraps the waveform back onto itself, creating a harmonically complex sound. It's much more pronounced than the subtle soft clipper, and more complex than the squared-off hard clipper. The low fold and high fold set the point where the signal wraps down upon itself. The stereo dual-peak bandpass filter is a trio of bandpass filters and introduces stereo spread to the BDK. A low-pass filter filters out sounds above a cutoff frequency, while a high-pass filter filters out sounds that are below the cutoff frequency. A bandpass filter allows a band of frequencies to pass that sit around the cutoff frequency. The center cutoff frequency controls the macro cutoff for all three filters in tandem. The left and right frequency sliders control the hard pan left and right bandpass filters, offsetting them from the center frequency plus or minus 300 Hz, and creating two more bands that allow sound to pass. The resonance control sets the resonance for all three filters, creating an emphasis at the cutoff frequency through feedback. Turning the resonance all the way up will cause the filters to oscillate, creating an additional ringing tail after the initial sound decays, much like the comb filter feedback. final section is the dynamics section. If you've been clicking away at the randomize button, you may have noticed that the dynamics section is not affected. This is to keep the dynamic range of your kicks in a relatively similar space without huge jumps in volume that comes from the randomization process, making the sound unusably quiet or loud. The limiter allows for setting the input gain, the threshold point at which the limiter acts on the sound, and the output gain. After the limiter, you get the final output levels, which control the dry kick, the process kick, and the final output level. So, as I said, it's fun to play around with the randomize button. It's really what I'd suggest first when you want to audition some sounds. The pitch envelope can be set to randomize or not if you want to keep the tuning constant. The comb filter feedback and bandpass resonance controls will not be randomized to the point of self-oscillation. You have to do that yourself if you want that. You can pick up a copy of the Big Dumb Kick in the Omi Industries web store, and there's a link in the description. The Big Dumb Kick is only available as a Max for Live object, meaning you need a copy of Ableton Live in order to use it. Please see Ableton's site for more details. I'm just gonna let a little sequence run and randomize the Big Dumb Kick to give you more of a sense of what it can do. I'm Naomi from Omi Industries, and I'll see you next time.